Hello and welcome to the video. This today is trading different time frames and these different time horizons, how they can help us find out where we're going, where we're going to enter our trade, where we're going to take profit, and scalping and long-term trades and all the rest of that jazz. So enjoy the video and stick around to the end because we'll just do. Alright, here's the intro. Okay, pow, pow, pow. I love that intro. It's just too loud. I've got to still work. I'm still working on my software. Need to turn it down a little bit. Need to turn it down, but for now, let's just look into the charts. Now, it's important that you understand that the different time frames, when you look at them, are an indication of the direction of the trend at the time. Then once you find the direction of the trend at the time, you can go to the smaller time frame and then look at the best point of entry. Now that might not make much sense the way that I've just explained it, but let me start making a little bit more sense of it. Okay, so at the minute we're on the daily. I've got the Bollinger Bands up because it's just convenient to find the 20 SMA, which is the red line here. Okay, so what's this is telling us, for those of you that this is theta that we're looking at now, theta versus Bitcoin. Did a video about 5 days ago just saying that I believe that it's a great place to take entry. So those of you that have so far put your entry into that trade that I pointed out, you guys would now be in about a 10.5% gain right now. So it was a good call, and so far and I'm hoping it's going to continue to be a good call. But for now, we know that we're in an upward trend. Now we know, because we're above the 20 SMA, we're in an upward trend. We can now go to the lower time frame and find a good point of entry, whereby normally you turn around and say, okay, I've come on my computer today with all this knowledge that I've got, and yeah, you know what, we're above the 20 SMA, let's buy here. Okay, is there a good place to buy? Well, we don't know. We don't know because we haven't looked at the lower time frames. This is where I will go down to the hourly and look for some kind of pullback to try and get a good entry point. So up here, it's not a good entry point because we're continuing to go up. So it's a matter of allowing the market to come to us. So I would be waiting for the market to come down to below the 20 SMA, now no longer the 20-day SMA, but now it's the 20-hour SMA. I want it to come below the 20 SMA now to find the entry point for my day. Bringing up the RSI, it would be ideal to find a point where it comes down in an uptrend, because we know we're in an uptrend because we've looked at the daily and it's above the S20. Now we're going down to the hourly. We know we're in an uptrend, but we want to hit a point of entry. We bring up the RSI, and then what we're looking for ideally is an oversold point. So we'll just bring up the RSI now and have a look to see whereabouts we are. And let's just get that out of the way for a minute. And we are not in an oversold. In fact, we're not even at the medium line, but we are on our way down. Bring up another oscillator, bringing up the MACD, just finding out that the histogram's turning red and we've got the crossover. So it looks like we are coming down. We've got the crossover. We're coming down on the RSI. So hopefully, and it's just a matter of a few hours, and we'll find a good entry point there. Now, if we do wait, instead of putting in saying, okay, we want to get into theta now, instead of that, and wait until we get down to kind of like a point where we're below the 20 SMA, there seems to be quite a bit of strength there from a point of view of trend line. See those four candles there? You got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got resistance, support, 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 support. Wouldn't surprise me that would be a place where we would find a good entry. And at that point where it comes down, the price would hopefully come down to there where we put our position in. That's when the histogram will, all being well, be coming down further into the red, kind of around about here. And then hopefully the RSI will be coming down to kind of like this kind of territory here, about the 34. So that's where we're looking for. But what you wouldn't do is put a trade in, do this, what I've just said, on the hourly, when on the daily the overall trend is on a down. So you wouldn't do it if we were underneath the 20 SMA. Okay, that's 2 points there that you can look at. but we need a third, and the third one is the weekly. Now, if the weekly is showing above the 20 SMA, the daily is showing above the 20 SMA, and the hourly is showing above the 20 SMA, then we have what I call all the planets in alignment, which I say on a regular basis. This is what we're looking for. And the weekly is above, the daily is above, and the hourly at the moment is above. And this is where we're going to use the hourly to come in and put our buy point in. So let's wait for that red line, for that red candle to come down a couple of times. Wait until it touches the this area of support, and I would be looking at buying in at that point there, ready for the next leg up, with a stop loss in to make sure that I manage my risk, and then my take profit will be according to previous history, and looking at the visible range to find out where the resistance is going to be. Visible range coupled with the Fibonacci fibs, you'll find yourself a good point of I do that all the time, such a moron. Right, here's a great place. Like you got support, you got resistance, support, and you got support. So there's a great place. That's something definite that we can hold on to. And obviously we've topped out twice there, so there is a really good fib entry and exit fib point to click on. So now we've got that in for the hourly, and we're waiting for it to come down to the yellow, which will be at the 61.8 almost. We put our trade in, and then we exit the trade when we hit and reach roughly the 50% move in. So we get to there and we make ourselves a nice 4% profit. This is if you just trade in an hourly scalping candle. This is how you make the money. Specifically in leverage trading, which is something that I don't do unless I am absolutely certain asset that I'm looking at is on a platform that I trust and that I know my way around, because there's so many hidden traps that you don't know what you're doing with it. It'll turn around and say you're in profit, then you come out and you find yourself with a less balance because it wasn't actually profit, it was just in the green, and it's just stupid. I hate these platforms. The only one that I trust and I like is Bybit, and therefore that's the only one that I use. And whilst Binance do it, yes, I know my way around Binance, but it isn't a platform that I use, again because they make things difficult. And it's not easy to exit these on these platforms. It's not easy to turn around and say I want out now, and then you come out of the you've got to work out the payback and borrowing, and it's just complicated. So I don't do it. Just don't do it. So Binance, if you're listening, make things more simple and more people would do it. Okay, so that's that. Right, now that's talking about the daily. Now if we just move that whole theme on to a way that I trade, which is I trade on from weeks to weeks. I'll find a strong indication of a coin that's going to go up, and I'll stick with it for a considerable amount of time and make considerable profits. But for me, I need to make sure before I enter the trade, enter the long position or buy the asset, that again we are in a upwards trend. So I would go to the weekly or the monthly. In this case, let's go to the monthly and find out, is it worth putting in the trade. We are in an upwards trend in the monthly. We've already done this. The weekly, we're in an upward trend. The daily, we're in an upward trend. The 4 hourly, we're in an upward trend. And the hourly, we're in an upward trend. So Theta is a great asset right now to be putting our trades in at. But this is how you do it, you see. Now, what you wouldn't do is turn around and say, well, okay, well, I want to make, a real high percentage trade. I want to be in there for a week or two and make real big gains, not your 4%, 5%, but I want to be able to go to work and not have to worry, or I want to go and spend time with the family or go on holiday and not be looking at the charts all the time. Then this is what I would be looking for, like I've just said, the weekly, the monthly, the weekly, and the daily. Then once I do that, the daily is where I would find my entry point there. I'd be looking at the past days as to what it's done, and I would be looking for the pullback on the daily. So at the minute we are now got the monthly, the weekly, and the daily above the 20 SMA. I would probably wait for a 20 SMA bounce, so wait for it to kind of come down, which is why theta there was the perfect entry point, because we're all on uptrends, and we've just bounced off of the 20 SMA on the daily. Now this is a trade that I can just leave open, and I think I said this a little while ago. I came in roughly there, price is there, and so I've made 10%. And 10% is a lot of money for a big size, a big position. It's good money, and I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with that. The histogram on the MACD is going up. I don't see any bearish divergence happening. Everything is good. So, in answer to your question, when and what time frames do you use and how do you use them? That's how you use them. You use them in conjunction with moving averages. Now, I must stress that not every trade is going to win. Not every trade is going to work. The whole purpose in trading is about trying to catch the maths from a percentage point of view, so that more percent of the time you make winning trades than losing trades. And what you find is that the markets, they move together. So if if you're trading in NFTs, or if you're trading in DeFi, or if you're trading in smart contracts, ERC stuff, altcoins in general, you'll find they'll all move all in the same way. It'll be a green day, or it'll be a red day. But the job is not to find a move that's going to go up and say, well, I'm going to go in on that one. The idea is, once you've found that that most of them are following that pattern, they're all in an upwards trend on the weekly and the daily and the hourly, or the monthly, the weekly, and the daily. They're all in an uptrend, which is all good, ready to make the entry. What the best thing to do is, at that point, is then go along and down your asset list and try and find a coin, in our case with crypto, a cryptocurrency that's going to make the biggest gains. The way that we do that is by looking at the volatility and the percentage range of the moves that have been made. That, then a little bit of time spent on the fundamental analysis on things. Is it going to get released on Coinbase anytime soon? Is it going to bring out its new 0.3 out? Is it going to go from beta to a live smart platform? What's the news? What's the fundamentals going to be? And then we can turn around and make a move. Case in point here is Tezos. The minute Tezos has just made a 9% gain today against the dollar. But for me, if we look at the let's go to the monthly. We go to the monthly. Okay, so monthly, we're in an upward trend. Okay, that's good. Although we've got down pressure, we are in a monthly upwards trend. The weekly, however, we're below the 20 SMA. And the daily, we are also below. Even though we've just had a 10% move, we are below the 20 SMA. So would I be making a trade today and buy Tezos after this candle has just gone up? Well, let's go down to the 4 hour. And we're just going up as the bulge opens up after we've just had a very small squeeze of about 5 or 6 hours. The bulge is opening up. This is something that I wouldn't trade today. I just personally wouldn't trade it. All right, so then that's it. I hope that I've kind of given you an idea. So so you go down your list. If if it's DeFi you're looking at, or if it's NFTs that you're looking at, then that's what you do. See what Chiliz is doing. Chiliz is above the daily. It is above the weekly, and it is above the monthly. So Chiliz is a good one to go for. Is it a good one to go for today? If you're going to make a daily one, not yet. It's not. We're not in an oversold point. The MACD histogram looks like it's going positive, and we've got a bullish candle here. I'm waiting until we come down to this point here, where we've found resistance, support, and more resistance, and then here we found support and we've gone up. So I'm hoping to come back down and have an area here where we can turn around and say, okay, there's a good trade to make. So when we looked earlier on at theta, we decided that if we were to go in at the hourly and make that move from here, that it would give us I think we said 4%, didn't we? If we go up to where we were, we said 4%. Let's just bring that down and make sure. This is just a case in point what I was saying. So we go from our entry to our exit, which is the resistance that we've had there, is 4%. And even less, sorry, 4.5%, but even less if we use the fibs as our resistance, okay? But with Tezos, but with Chiliz, if we do the same game, and that is that we wait for the pullback, so we come in and we enter at the point here where we find most support and resistance. At that point, hopefully the RSI will be more sort of down towards the early mid 30s, and the histogram will be hopefully going the other way. At that point there, then we come out here, and then that'll be our exit. So it would seem that if we're just scalping for the day, that with that entry point there against the entry point of theta, that we've got more chance of making gains on the on a day-to-day trading Chiliz versus Bitcoin, rather than all the time. All the time we need to be making sure that when we are looking at any of what I've said today, that at the point where we decide what asset we're going to be putting in at, we need to make sure there is sufficient volume to push the asset up. If we have a major decline in volume as the price comes down against an asset, you think that you might get 10% gain in that, in that next few hours if you're scalp trading, but it's declining in volume. But you have another one where we're trying to do this same strategy, but it's got a massive volume spike as we have a bounce and it starts to go up. Then you've got to take into consideration volume is key, because without volume there are no people, there are no traders. So obviously we need that momentum, that power, that volume to be able to push that move up. And likewise, if you're going to try and do the opposite as to what I've said in short, you also need a load of volume, because you need people turning around and saying, I'm taking my money out. So volume is also key. Got to say, through all of this, please like and subscribe. But also, none of this is financial advice. It's just for entertainment purposes only, rather than the other one. I hope what I'm saying is making sense. And that's it. Fundamentals, making sure that everything's all above the moving average until you go to your lowest time frame, and then use that moving average to the point where it just dips below it, because that'll turn out to be a wick most likely, and then you enter your point and then you go up. Just remember that the price never goes linear up. The price is it's a uplight and a up and a up and a up. Okay, so you can't wait for here, you wait for here ideally, but you never catch it. But if you can catch it here, then at least you've got that big ride. And again, you don't just go in anywhere and then ride it down, you wait for the reversal. Then you come in here and you ride your candle, and that's the game. That's the name of the game, and that is what's going on with Bitcoin right now. And if we take Bitcoin bring that up on the charts, and we go to the daily, in fact we bring that down, scroll right out, down, scroll right down. Okay, so if let's get the crosshair up and go to undo one. Right, so a case in point is let's just look at the monthly. The monthly is above the 20 SMA. The weekly is above, it's below. So the weekly is telling us that to trade Bitcoin right now, according to a lower time frame, isn't in play according to these little rules that I have in place when I make my trades. So it isn't an entry point that I would make today. unless the yearly, again, I'm just doing exactly the same thing. It's just coming down. So the yearly, we don't have a 20 SMA on here because we haven't had 20 years of Bitcoin. Anyway, and then we would be above the 20 monthly moving average. We are below the 20 weekly. So if it was going to be a really long-term trade, now's a good time to get in. But it's going to be a long-term trade. It's going to be something where you put in a bit of money that you can afford to lose, and then you turn around and you leave it there for literally months, few months, 3 or 4 months, and then you would take your profits. Ultimately, it's not the way that I trade, because I want my money. I want to see results sooner rather than later. So I'm not like, I want my money today. I've got patience, but I'm also not someone who wants to wait a couple of 3 years for my trades to come out, because I want to be able to move on and go on to my next trade. So there we go. That's it. With that, I'm going to turn around and say thank you for listening all the way through. If you like the video, please subscribe. There's loads of tutorials which I'm bringing out on a daily basis. The quality of the videos is going up with every video that I do. And yeah, with that, I'm going to say bye.